Morning, everyone. This is Russell Rucker, and I'm here for another constitutional talk. You know, we're in a period of time right now where we're running through events of our founding, a 250-year anniversaries of our events. And this is the Founders Encyclopedia, newly published. Um, this year I put out two books. One I had been holding for some time, and I thought it was time just to take care of it. But the sequence of events, the beginning of the book starts with the British Navigation Acts, goes through the Sugar and Molasses Acts and the Stamp Act, and everything that brought about a change. Our founders were not necessarily great men, they were men of substance and principle. And the events that they dealt with made them great men. There are also a bunch of rebels that would basically cause trouble, destroying the counting house and Andrew Laura's, the destruction of the Hutchington's home, and everything that went back and forth. We had a Stamp Act Congress, and ship Liberty was seized, which was John Hancock's vessel. And there was the killing of Christopher Seidler, the Boston Massacre. And as we proceeded through the Boston Tea Party in 1773, and just a couple of years back, they had a real big celebration, kind of a reenactment out there over the Boston Tea Party. And just this last weekend was the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington and Concord. And I know we talked about that battle before. It was a really interesting thing. They're gathered out at the tavern out there. They know the British are coming. Paul Revere and Dow's have gone through. And so they all know they're coming. And they're out there on the Lexington Green, and they're waiting for the British to just to make a show of force, that they weren't going to stand by and have everything taken from them. And this is the beginning of our conflict. I mean, already we've had the Boston Tea Party, and there are conflicts going on throughout. But this is one of the reasons why we established a Continental Congress. And that is what my latest book, Philadelphia, Yorktown, is about, is the Continental Congress. And they try to find a way to deal with what the king's doing, trying to find a way to deal with Parliament. I mean, their initial response really is to find some way dealing with the complaints, what's going on, and to have another committee dealing with trade. And they pretty much threaten Britain with trade. But this is all these things that are going on. And as we roll through this period of time, we're going to pass quite a bit of the 250th anniversary of all these events. And the Declaration of Independence will come up next year on July 4th. So it's really kind of an exciting time. I lived through the bicentennial of the Declaration, and I remember lots of big events that they did at the time. In fact, our Liberty Bell on site here, our model, is from that period of time, made prior to the bicentennial for that reason. And so we're going to be rolling through a whole period of history here where we're talking about the events. And I think that should be acknowledged. 250 years seems like a very long time. And it is. But it's an important time, and it's relevant today. And it's relevant today because of what we did. During the Continental Congress, we established our first Constitution, the Articles of Confederation. At the end of that meeting, was actually predicted by one fellow that it won't be long, probably less than 10 years, and this Constitution is going to fail and we'll have to redo it. And that's why we gathered in the Constitutional Convention. And that's what this book covers. Now, what you have to understand about our founders is we understand our Constitution fairly well. There are lots of people walking around that are almost virtual experts on the Constitution. And that's really what this whole channel is about, is our Constitution. But our founders knew the English Constitution as well as we know ours today. And I think that is an important thing to understand. Where we are today is not where we were then. And those people were just as dedicated and devoted to what they believe and that's how we got the Constitution we have, because their understanding of the historical aspects of it. This is an important thing really to note, that these people were highly educated people for their day. They knew Roman and Greek history. They knew English history. They knew world history fairly well. These people were farmers for most part, but there were also many that went to Harvard, Yale, the College of New Jersey. They were not people that were not prepared. And they were also people primarily who were serving in an elected office, sometimes 2 or 3 offices. I just want you to be aware of kind of the whole situation, where all the pieces come together for who these people really were. Now, I want you to understand the importance of these people. Some people will highlight one person or another like they're a founder and they aren't a founder. There are only so many founders. There are quite a few, but they're numbered. There's only so many. I was able to identify well over 200 that I could find information about. But there are others that people want to put in that position that weren't. Now, I've heard it said that Monroe was a founder, but he misses all the important periods. He misses all the important documents. He was too young. And there are others, too, that may have been in local elected office, but they never achieved anything that would put them in the founders category. In order to be a founder, you have to found something. You don't show up today and claim you were a founder of something 200 years back. And that's important to note in and of itself. Well, I just thought I'd talk today about the history of this period, because we are going through a period with the 250th anniversary where there's going to be a lot of discussion, talk, celebrations based on it. And I think that's important to note as we go through the period that we're in right now. We are once again in a decisive period. We have two sides that are really at a serious conflict with each other. And you can see that in the news today. And this is much the same as it was back then between the British and our people that were patriots, our patriots. And really, we've had this conflict going on the entire period of history. I just want you to understand that. And we'll get back to regular discussion next week on the next Constitutional Talk. You folks have a real good day now. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.